Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. As Kirby said, I'm Kelly Hanson. I'm the VP of HR at Park Industries, and I'm excited to be here today to share with something that I'm so passionate about, how to retain your associates. One of the things you really want to think about are what are the most critical steps to take to ensure that you're doing everything you can to retain talent today in a climate that none of us have ever experienced before. When I think about the keys to retention, I really think of 5 steps. And it really starts with, first and foremost, culture. Culture is a foundation to everything we should be doing within our work environment, and we'll talk about that in further detail today. But if you do have behaviors in your work environment that are disruptive or go against what you stand for from a culture, you have to address those before you do anything else. The second step to retaining your talent is meaningful purpose. Now more than ever, our employees want to feel connected to why they are doing what they're doing for you as their leader, for their team, for the company, for the customers. They want to know and understand how they can make an impact. Third, in the steps for retention is providing growth and development opportunities. Your employees want to know that they have an opportunity to advance not only their career, but their knowledge and skills. It's different than we've seen before in the workplace history. They want to be committed to you, but you have to demonstrate that commitment to them through growth and development. The fourth step is leader development. You hear it all the time. As a saying goes, more employees leave their leaders than they leave the company, or they've left their leader before they leave the organization. So what are you doing to ensure that your leaders are doing all that they can to support, to engage, and to motivate your team? And then the last step is total compensation. As Kirby mentioned, money's not going to get you there, but your total compensation philosophy, which includes things like pay, which includes training and development, which includes fun workplace activities, all those things are considered when you look at total compensation. You need to at least be market competitive in what you're doing. So we'll talk about that as we go through this today. So let's take a deeper dive into each one of those steps of retention. So the first one being culture. Really this is one of those things that you hear all the time. Well, we have a good workplace culture. And I like to pause and say, well, do you? When I think of culture, you really want to take a step back and say, what are our 3 core areas of culture, and what are we doing to really instill them within our workforce? And as you see in the slide, I refer to them as buckets, but you see the 3 circles. The first one is shown in yellow, which is the vision and values. Now, I'm not talking to what's in your front lobby, up on the wall, or on your website. These are things that you need to really live by to demonstrate in your workings of your business. When you look at your values, these are things that should be lived out in how you run your business, how you treat each other, and how you're making decisions. Your employees should feel it in everything that you do. At Park, our values are trust, integrity, and respect. And one of the ways that I really welcomed learning our values and being an HR professional is to start with trusting everybody and trust their intentions. So when we have a situation that comes up, we don't jump to conclusions and assume the person was wrong. We trust they had the best intentions and understand what the situation was that led them to do what they did. And when you start there, you're treating people like they deserve to be treated, and assuming that there was no wrongdoing. It was really their best intentions. Once you have your vision and values established, you have to reinforce them in the second category within your practices and your people. How are you incorporating to ensure you're bringing in people that share the same vision and values as you? You can do this in things like in your interviews. Are you asking questions relative to your values? One of the things we ask about in most of all our interviews is around respect. And you can ask a question like, tell me about a time you disagreed with a decision your manager made. Tell us what that was and how did you respond to that? And through their response, you can better understand how are they going to respond in those moments. Are they going to be disrespectful? Are you going to say, well, my manager was a jerk and I don't respect them, and so I went and told this person about how they were? Or did they go through, well, I didn't understand or I didn't agree, so I went and talked to my manager to better understand why. So you can really uncover if they're going to live the values out in the way that you want. Another process that should be reflective of your vision and values is your performance review process. We incorporate our values in the full life cycle of our associates. So when you look at your performance reviews, are you holding them accountable to living out your values and how they perform on a daily basis? For us, we call that living the Park way, and it is reflective in reviews all the way from our co-presidents down to the new hire. And we make sure that they understand what that looks like, and then we measure and reward success for living out our values. We also tie it to our recognition program. We recognize our employees through living the values. So through our crankshaft program, which reflects if they're living out those behaviors in all that they do. And then lastly, when you look at culture, you also want to look at the work environment. So you've created the foundation, you have your vision, you have your values, you have your processes, you're hiring the people, but does your workplace really reflect those values? Do you aspire to be a best place to work or minimally a great place to work where people enjoy coming in? You need to make sure you treat your employees like they matter, like they're an integral part of your company, not only its success, but in how people feel and live out the success of your company. But it's very much like the golden rule. If you treat others as you want to be treated, they're gonna feel valued, they will feel appreciated, and they're more likely to help others feel that same way. So focus on how you can make work more fun, how can you make it meaningful, and provide flexibility when your employees need it the most. The second step is meaningful purpose. We are often brought up as leaders to believe that the bottom line or profits is what we're here for. But in reality, and more than ever, profit and purpose have to go hand in hand in order to keep our employees motivated in today's workforce. They want to be part of a profitable, successful company, but they also want to know that they're doing something that has meaning. Managers and leadership at all levels need to understand the importance of your team having a sense of purpose. This is what we often hear as a communication breakdown. Your employees just don't understand the why. Why is this important? What will the outcome be? And how do we get there? And what's my part or my role in that? As Simon Sinek, the author of Start With Why, stated, more companies should focus on why they do what they do than focus on the profits. By defining your company's purpose, you can communicate the higher calling to your employees. And if they understand that, they become passionate about what they're doing, regardless of the level they perform within your organization. You also need to think about how can you encourage your employees to pursue their passions outside of work and give them time and resources to do so. So looking at the whole self and how can you encourage it. A way that we do this is we do provide our associates with educational opportunities outside of work through tuition reimbursement, scholarships, as well as flexible work schedules, so they can pursue those outside passions and growth opportunities, but with support alongside of Park. We also like to look at how can we help employees volunteer out in the community, either where they work or where they live, and how can we reward them for their contributions to do so versus hold them accountable to an attendance schedule. And the other thing that it does, and this is kind of the secret gem to me, is as you're allowing your employees to go out and volunteer, not only is it giving your employee more commitment to you, it is also showing the community that you have commitment to the community and those around it, which helps with branding and sourcing. And lastly, make their work matter. Help your employees understand their role and the greater purpose of the company. Oftentimes, employers hire and put them to work. You hire a welder and the next day they're out welding. They don't even see the finished product and what their part of the process has to do with the greater outcome. Take time to show them how their work impacts their team, the department after theirs, as well as the customer. Now the third step in employee growth and development is growth and development for your employees. This is one of the most commonly cited reasons why employees leave their job today is due to lack of growth and opportunity. They see that they have no further way to advance in the organization because their leader hasn't spoke to them about their aspirations. They haven't been afforded any opportunities to grow. Employees today want to grow. They want to be developed. They want to continue to add value in and across the business. It's less about the money and more about the opportunity to make a greater impact for the business. I've had conversations with employees that have said, it's not about an increase. That's not what I'm talking about. I want to learn and I want to contribute in different and more ways. So how do you engage them in that? You want to start with focusing on the individual and what is their desired career path, because everybody has a unique and different path, and it's our roles as leaders to support what that looks like. Now, not everybody's going to want to move into leadership, and guess what? That's okay. We really want that. Some may want to grow into other roles completely in a different department, and that should be supported. They may also want to grow cross-functionally, or may want to just increase their technical knowledge so they can add more value within their team. You don't know what they want to aspire to if you never ask. So start there. Sit down with each one of your direct reports and ask them, what do they aspire to do? Where do they want to be in the next year? Where would they like to be in the next 3 to 5 years? And I always ask, where would you like to finish your career? At the end, when you turn in the keys and say, I'm retiring, where do you want to see yourself? Because then that helps create an opportunity as a leader to come alongside them and help be their coach and mentor and help them achieve that success. And it doesn't have to be overly complicated either. I think at times as leaders we become overwhelmed. Well, I don't have a formal process. I don't have the tools or resources. But really, it's really simple. It's about growing their knowledge, skills, and abilities and helping them see where they can gain that knowledge. It might be shadowing opportunities within the department or the department they want to go to. It might be being part of meetings that they're not part of today. And then also, it's important that you do consider how you help them grow financially in parallel with their career growth. Because as an employer, you don't want to be taking advantage of them either, and showing them as they give more to you and add more value to your team, that you appreciate that value they're bringing. The other thing you want to think about is, are you offering leadership opportunities to your associates? Are you growing them internally, or are you always having to hire externally? Now, so many companies over the years that I've worked for promote the most technically skilled person into the leadership role. Well, they're really good at this, so they should be good at leading. More often than not, it's that individual that really struggles because they're not meant to be in leadership, nor did they have any aspiration to ever lead. So you want to make sure that you're working with the right person that has the aspirations to move into leadership as you're working on your development. Start with identifying those individuals on your team that have aspirations to move into leadership. They might be the person that tends to be the best trainer on your team. They like to rally the troops. They're open to communication. They're looking for ways to change and innovate. They generally will demonstrate good leadership behaviors, have the right attitude, and portray your values. And work with them to provide the right kind of training and opportunities. And then when you have a leadership opportunity, you're going to have talent ready to move into that next role. I know for us, we track how many leaders or how many people are getting promoted into leadership opportunities to ensure we have visibility of how often we have people ready to be promoted at Park versus how often are we having to go externally because we have not done the job to promote and develop people within. Now, the fourth step is retaining your talent is leader development. As I said earlier, you hear more often than not that people check out because of their leader before they exit the organization. I don't know about you, but I've been there. Having a bad boss, a bad leader who doesn't encourage and motivate the team really makes it not so much fun to come to work. And so if you as a leader within your organization are not spending the time to develop your people in leader roles, how can they lead in uncertain times like this? I don't know about you, but the last 18 months have been the most challenging 18 months of my career. And I think that's been the same for every other leader in business. So we have to take time to invest in our leaders. Even though it may be crazy times, are we equipping them with the tools and resources to do their jobs effectively? The rate of change also is moving faster than we've ever experienced before. They've said we've changed more in the last 30 years than we did the 300. So what are we doing to train and develop our leaders to ensure that they have the tools and resources to do their jobs effectively? Do they know what to do to engage their team? Do they know how to communicate effectively? Or are they a leader on the floor that is so frustrated because today they had 2 more people call in with COVID-like symptoms and they haven't hired their team yet, so now their entire team is suffering the wrath of that leader today. So what you have to do is look at how can you develop your leaders. It can be things like attending today's webinar. It can be as simple as looking at different books, offering a book club within your leadership group. It can be creating courses around, for us, when we had to go to remote work, it was how to engage our leaders to teach and train and motivate people remotely. It's different, right? They're not right down the hallway. You don't have to necessarily have resources to create your own leadership training program. You can partner with companies like the Manufacturers Alliance that have mastered it and have training programs already developed for developing your leaders. So don't make it overly complicated, but be consistent. If you're going to send one leader to training, you should be sending all your leaders to training, and you as a leader should have attended it as well. So you can be consistent in the methodology and the messaging and the reinforcement within your business. I know for us at Park, we spent the last 6+ years developing our leaders, and I can tell you the results are in the numbers. The engagement scores of our employees, the retention of our employees, the comments regarding their leaders. People will stay because they value and have loyalty to their leader. So think about what you're doing for your leaders in particular to ensure they're equipped. Now, the fifth and last step of retaining your employees or retaining talent is to ensure you have a total compensation philosophy that aligns with your values. Ensure that you're competitive to market in all aspects. Now, for some companies or some employers, they may say, I'm going to be overly competitive or pay above market for wages, but I'm going to be below market for benefits. And that's okay. It's okay as long as you're market competitive holistically. So when you're looking at what you're doing for benefits, what you're doing for engagement or recognition in your workplace, what are you doing for fun events to make them feel more part of a team and loyal to the organization? How are you handling time off? We are extremely flexible in allowing our associates time off. We're the first manufacturer I've worked for that doesn't have an attendance policy. And that's reflective in our values. We trust they're making the right decision for Park and for themselves, and we're going to support it. So make sure you're looking at your employee base and what means most to them and what do they value and how are you adjusting it. You know, so many employers today are offering sign-on bonuses. I don't know about you, but you can, whether you're listening to the radio or driving down the interstate, you see sign-on bonuses being offered everywhere. I'm not a fan of it unless you're doing the same for all your employees. Because why would somebody want to stay working for you if you're not offering them the same? You'll get the question, well, if I quit tomorrow and get hired back, am I going to get the sign-on bonus? So how is that showing value to your employees? Instead, do things like, for us, it was increasing our referral incentive, telling our employees we want to show them that we value them more than we value putting money out to the unknown entities. So we actually had a tiered program in place. The more people they refer, the more money they can make. So finding ways like that really show your employees that you value them. Also consider paying for performance. Oftentimes employers put all their money into one bucket, and this is what we're going to do for merit increase, market adjustments, promotions. Handle that separately. Pay for performance, reward them for what they did over the last 12 months. Also promote them up and have dollars allocated for those promotion opportunities. And as they move up in their skill, consider how you're compensating them for that as well. In the tough market we're in today, we have to think about doing things differently. We have to be willing to be flexible and adaptable and move quickly. And lastly, in summary, as I shared the 5 key strategies to retaining your talent, I think if you do this and consider all the different elements, you can really create an employee value proposition that makes it hard to leave. For us at Park, our retention this year is at 94%, turnover is at 6%. With the right elements, you can do that too. Thank you for your time today. Now turning it over to Kirby.